was going to say hard drug. It was bad. This
episode entitled Ginger on Drugs.
I told them, I was like, turn off the GoPros in the car. They had them all set up, like 8 GoPros or something. And I was like, can you turn them off? I'm about to throw up.
You go, why is our marriage being assaulted right now? Whether it's from the public, issues with family, why are we under attack? We're just trying to live life together.
Even though in those times, like it was the hardest times of our life, and we were walking through so much stuff, even publicly with family stuff, like that was just really crazy with my brother, his choices, everything that was going down at that point.
What's up, guys? Ginger and Jeremy here, and we're back for episode 19.
We are back.
Of the podcast.
Yep.
And you might notice if you're watching this on YouTube that we are not in our usual space. It's not because we're on the road.
No, it's not. It's because we're in our storage room.
Yeah. So we're actually in a storage room in our house, which we've been wondering for a while what to do with. We thought maybe we'll turn this into like a mother-in-law suite. Is that what they call them?
Yeah. Or like a guest suite or an apartment or something like that.
But then, given how much we're recording this podcast and how it's an every week thing, we thought, why don't we turn this into the podcast studio?
Yeah.
So we are right now in what's going to be our podcast studio. And at first we thought, let's renovate the whole thing. Let's paint it. Let's get it all set up and then film. But then we thought, why not bring everyone along on this little journey of renovation with us?
So here we go.
Yeah. So right now it looks super plain, white walls. You see, there's windows. I don't know if you can see it, but there's windows. We're going to actually put some plywood over that, turn that into a wall. We're going to, I think, paint it Roman clay is the style of paint. And Ginger, I just ordered the furniture that's going to go in here.
I love it. Yeah, that's exciting. We have, Jeremy had worked on the design with some people and was just going back and forth. And so that's good to know. We have it all ordered. Hopefully this will be up and going
soon.
Super soon. We'll
see.
You
might have to endure 1 or 2 or 3 episodes with it looking makeshift like this.
Or 4 or 5, knowing the way we roll.
Not. No, you know what it needs to be done before Christmas, because you can't have a podcast studio that's not kind of warm and cozy before Christmas.
It's true.
So it needs to feel like it's warm and cozy by Christmas.
We'll see.
Hey, speaking of Christmas, we set up some decorations.
We did, yeah. I feel like we were back and forth on whether or not we wanted to do that. And most of the time...
We'll do it before Thanksgiving, you mean?
Yeah, because doing it early is something that Jeremy has always been kind of against, right? Yeah. You should talk about that. He would make a thing because my sister Jessa put up her tree before Thanksgiving.
Which I thought was crazy.
He thought it was insane. And then yesterday, our Christmas tree arrived, one of the ones I ordered from Amazon. And so then I was like, I'll just put up the smaller tree in the living room. That way we can have it set up. And that way we don't have to haul it up to the storage room or anything. That would just be terrible to have to do that. So I just pulled it into the living room, set it up, and sent you a picture. And then when you got home, you had the Christmas bug. And what did you do?
Well, we got this 15-foot Christmas tree from Costco.
15 feet, guys.
It's awesome. And as soon as it came out, or as soon as you saw it in Costco, I was like, let's snag it, because I knew it was going to sell out.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it did.
Yeah.
At least online.
They called me the other day, and they were like, did you get the right parts to your Christmas tree? Because they said somebody who bought the Christmas tree took the wrong box, because there were boxes 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. You have to have the correct boxes, otherwise it doesn't work. And they were like, somebody took the wrong box.
Well, when I went to buy it, they're massive boxes. The boxes are 5 feet by 3 feet. And we just got one and put it on our cart, and I was pushing it away. And the guy said, no, we got to get 2 more. I said, there's 2 more. It was massive. So we opened this thing up yesterday, and here's my reasoning, because I am quite opposed to not giving Thanksgiving the space and the energy that it deserves.
Yeah.
Because Thanksgiving is an incredible holiday, arguably the best. Just because it revolves around food, it revolves around gratitude. You're all about gratitude.
Yes, I like that. I like it. I wouldn't say it's the best holiday.
But it's up there. It's in contention. So I think there's a debate. And you just have to give it its space. You can't preempt it with Christmas. And so I've always been kind of against the Christmas music and all that. But then having a 15-foot tree in the opening, as you walk into our house, my thinking was, this is a lot of effort to put it up, and it's going to be a lot of effort to take it down. So if I can maximize the time between putting it up and taking it down to do the least amount of work.
To make it worth it.
To make it worth it. I don't want to put it up and 3 weeks later take it down.
Yeah.
In other words. And so I thought, let's just get it up. And we've got Christmas lights coming on the outside of the house soon.
Yeah. But you've got to, so you've got to tell them though, when we pulled it out of the box, I had just spent an hour like fluffing that other 7-foot tree.
Oh yeah.
And it's not that big. It's just like a normal size 7-foot, tree, whatever. Put it in the front room. And I was like, oh my goodness, when you said you wanted to do the 15-foot one in the same day, I was thinking this is so overwhelming. Are we going to have to fluff this entire thing? Because I didn't know the style of it.
Yeah.
We just bought it. Hadn't opened it or anything. And then you just decided, like, let's do it. Pulled it out of the box.
And it just opened up.
The whole thing. It just opens up and it just falls open and you don't have to do any work. It is brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant. And so here's
smart.
The other thing.
I wish they did that with all trees.
Well, was the other one? The other one was in Costco. So here's a little plug for Costco. Love Costco. Glad you got a membership there. We went around and priced out trees because we wanted to get a big tree. When we walked in this house, when we were just looking at the house to buy it, that was the first thing I said was, I think this open space needs a massive Christmas tree because we love Christmas. It's fun for the girls.
Yeah.
And I'm more into Christmas now after having little girls, by the way.
Yeah. And also in our other homes, we only had a tiny bit of space. Like we had a Charlie Brown Christmas tree for the first 3 years. Yep. It was 3 feet tall, 1 foot wide. It was tiny because we didn't have any room. And then the last house we were at, we did a real Christmas tree one year. And then we went to one that was given to us for 1 year. That was it just was so thin and it didn't have hardly any branches on it. We just used that. We were content with it.
Yeah. So we've gone frugal on Christmas trees.
Now
we've got the space. And so when you saw the one at Costco, it was $1,500, which I thought, okay, that's, I don't know Christmas tree pricing, right?
People are going to get on to us for saying the price of that.
They'll survive. So
after all those years, think about this though. I'm just going to throw this out there. People who buy a Christmas tree every year, that's real. Those cost a lot of money.
Oh, big time. And then they die.
Then they die.
But we called Kylie. So Kylie Valero, who is our friend, she works with a local woman whose her whole business is
the Queen of Christmas.
She's the Queen of Christmas. So I called Kylie and said, hey, Kylie, this is $1,500, which seems like a lot for a Christmas tree. It's 15 foot. It's Costco. And I had no idea because I'm not in the Christmas tree world. Mm-hmm. But Christmas trees that big, artificial trees are $3,000 to $5,000, which is insane.
Crazy.
And so Kylie was giving us all these other options. I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm spending that much money on a Christmas tree. So Costco was the cheapest, and this thing is beautiful.
And you don't have to do any work because
it's incredible.
Literally, with our other tree that we got, the 7-foot one, you have to plug in the lights, twist it in, mm-hmm. on 4 sections. This one, what do you do? What do you do for the lights?
Yeah, it's all connected. The LED lights are connected through the
center pole.
The center pole, and so you just
when
drop
you
them in. There's 6 sections.
You twist it, and then it just drops in,
and the lights turn on. And it opens up. It was the easiest installation.
So we didn't have to set it up early after all that.
Well, it's gonna be harder taking it down because it's just heavy.
It's so heavy. I felt terrible because
one person can do it. I mean, it's a one-person job.
Through this pregnancy, I did with the other pregnancies. I just need to get back into my workouts now that I'm feeling better and not nauseous. But I was like, I can't even help you. I'm so weak.
Oh, it's fine.
I hate it.
It's genuinely a one-person job putting up.
Well,
anyway,
you're going to have somebody to help you because I'm not going to be able to
take it down. Yeah.
Especially when I'm super big pregnant.
That's true. But man, I was willing to
sacrifice and humble yourself because online it was a thing for a while about Jeremy and you were giving Jess a hard time.
Yeah, but she was playing Christmas music in October. It was ridiculous.
True.
Jess is out of control. So we're getting there with the decorations, but we're gonna give Thanksgiving its time and space.
Yeah, of course. We're gonna have a nice Thanksgiving meal.
Big time.
have friends over, enjoy it, all of that. So
Yep.
I don't want to decorate. The dining room's not going to get decorated in Christmas stuff, of course, because we're going to be hosting
Yeah, you need
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving first.
We need to like give this space for that. So a couple rooms we're going to kind of like maybe hold off on just to give Thanksgiving its space. And then as soon as Thanksgiving's over, it's going to look like Santa threw up all over our house. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, I like it.
So
Okay, but that's not even what we're talking about today, because today, Ginge, we just celebrated 8 years of marriage.
that is crazy. How's it been 8 years?
It's flown by.
I'm laughing because of my Santa comment. I can't. Yeah, it's so great.
Santa threw up over our house.
I think I'm just like tired. I need a second. I can't.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just tired. My eyes like always water like this. Is so annoying. Okay. Here we go.
She's all
I'm like drunk over here.
she gets pregnant and starts crying at everything.
I'm not crying.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not crying. I'm fine. Okay.
We're not taking any of that out, by the way,
Yes.
either.
Oh, my Lord.
Can I adjust
Okay.
my chair here?
Here
a
we
little
go.
bit? Okay.
Here we go.
This thing
Let's
is.
go.
Okay, so does it feel like 8 years of marriage?
I would say it feels like we've been married longer than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Like in some sense, it feels like it was yesterday. In another sense, it feels like we've been married forever.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've known you all of my life, even though I haven't. And but it is strange to like think the time of like 8 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a super long time. And so when I look at our kids, I think that is the thing that really kind of is the biggest factor in like how long we've been married, because I mean, we remember them as babies. We remember being in Laredo, like bringing Felicity home from the hospital. The little church plant we were at when we first got married. I mean, how does it feel for you though? Like, does it feel like 8 years to you?
Yeah, I don't know. You're right in the kids, because it seems like yesterday Felicity was a baby
Yeah.
and wasn't talking.
Yeah, totally.
And now you've got Evie, who's about to turn 4. And so it's just surreal. Like the kids help as a barometer of, time. Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, Felicity is 6. I almost said Cece because that's what she goes by.
Yeah. By the way, she's asked us to call her Felicity now, which is
Yeah.
so sweet.
Growing up.
But we still get away with Lissy.
There are a few little things that she'll
Yeah.
tell us. Like, that's one thing. She doesn't want us to call her Cece because she called herself Cece because she couldn't say her own name for years. And
She says, now I can say my name.
a ton of people will call her Cece still, and Evie does. But yeah, it's so cute. Anyhow, with that though, like she has like changed so much. She's grown up. She's very smart. Has a lot of spunk, a lot of personality. And the other day though, she was telling us and telling one of our good friends, she was like, so yeah, I just don't really love unicorns anymore. But she's like, I'm going to be so grateful for the ones I have. I'm going to keep the ones I have because I don't want anybody to be sad that they gave me unicorns. So I'm going to keep them. And I was like, well, I can give them to Evie. She's like, no, it's okay. I'm going to keep them. I think she still like wants them.
Well,
And
she's attached to Flower.
it's because you gave it to her.
Yeah. So Flower
Little
is
Flower.
a Thai Beanie Baby unicorn.
And it's like,
I think
it's
Thai.
like, what is it though? It's like a pink.
Yeah, it's
like
multicolored.
multicolored.
And Flower
It's
is
so
very
cute.
special to her. And she has a
Yeah.
little Flower keychain we got her, so she can always have Flower with her at school. And so, yeah, that was the first thing I said. Okay, well, are you going to get rid of Flower? And she said, no, I'll keep the ones I've got.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
It is so cute.
But she's growing up. I mean, she's this little girl who's now like engaging with the world on a whole new level. I still remember the moment, and it hit me in my head, but it hit me when she taught me something. It was the first time she taught me something verbally. And she's like 3. And she said, Daddy, did you know? And she told me something I didn't know. And it stuck with me. I was like, wow, that's a stage of development where she's discovering the world in a way that is unique to her.
Oh yeah.
But
It's
now,
only continued.
now she's
She
just
loves
all over
to
the
teach
place.
you
Yeah.
everything though. Like she does. She's very much like an instructor. She likes to tell you
Yeah.
if she learns something, you have to hear
Yeah.
what it is. Even the other day, like our friend was talking about how she was going to go have her baby. she's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna have the baby. And so I was like, okay, well, she's gonna have her baby on Wednesday. Told Felicity, and she goes, well, Mom, we don't know that because she has to go to the hospital. And then if they're there, maybe it's not going to be on that day. Like, she always has a comeback, thinking through
She's
every
processed it.
detail. So she's a detail oriented person, and it's really sweet to see. Like,
Yeah.
she thinks so deep.
Did you, when you thought of marriage, could you have imagined where we are now with two beautiful girls with a baby on the way? You're a mother of three.
Crazy.
Been married for 8 years. How did you see life and marriage shaping out?
I don't know. I mean, I think our lives, when we first got married, our lives were so different. Like, they were so different because we were, I was very young and coming out of a lot of like the difficult teachings, that I grew up in, all of that stuff that I was still processing. So I feel like we have grown, we've changed. We're just different people than we were all of those years ago. And it's a good thing. It's really sweet to see. So I couldn't have imagined that we would have like moved away from Laredo and that you would have gone to seminary, that would stay in LA, like all those things that have happened. And then even me just like coming out of those teachings and like developing such sweet friendships here, all those things that I just couldn't have comprehended because I was in such a different place. I think there's just been so much growth in both of us, and just like seeing how we have kids, I still sometimes am almost a little bit in denial. I'm like, how do we have a 6 and a 3-year-old? And I can't comprehend it,
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. You talk about growth. We often talk about a lot of your growth theologically and what you came out of, but I was thinking on it recently, and I've looked back on where I was even theologically.
Oh yeah.
And I've come to a different place as well. Like, I was in a setting of churches that I'm not in anymore and would have some differences with. And I just look back on even how I talked and kind of my mindset and my thinking. And we have changed in a lot of ways. And we're not where we're going to be or want to be. We're on the sanctification growth process still. But it is wild to look back and see how much has changed in 8 years.
Yeah. I have to ask you though. So, what do you miss the most about Laredo? Because being there was like, you were there before I was there. We started our lives together there. You were in like a 1-bedroom, right? A 1-bedroom apartment when I first met you. Yeah. I think your mom came and like decorated it or something and like set it up. Then we ended up like getting married, moved to like a 2-bedroom, I think immediately. Or did we move to a 1-bedroom for a bit? Was it 2?
We had a 1 bed. No, we had a 2-bedroom.
When we got married? Okay.
So I was on Fremont Street in Laredo.
Yeah.
1607 Fremont Street.
That's crazy.
I think.
Or 1601.
1601 Fremont Street.
Yeah.
It was a 1-bedroom apartment. I think I paid $600 a month.
Oh my goodness. Stop. That's just wrong.
Isn't that insane?
That's insane. And it was a nice.
Mason's shaking. Our producer's shaking his head too because he's. How much you pay in rent a month?
1,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
California.
Oh, he's cooking at 1,000.
California is insane.
Oh, it's insane.
Like that's part of it. It's like that was a nice apartment, and it had like right outside of your apartment stairs. What am I thinking? The railing. There would be there was grapefruit, mango or papaya or something hanging over
the balcony,
and you could just grab it and eat it, and it was like the best fruit.
Yeah. No, it was a little
fruit too.
It was a great little apartment complex.
Yeah.
And $600 a month. It was clean.
Yeah.
It was right near the church. It was in a neighborhood that was really beautiful. Downtown Laredo had all these old trees.
Yeah.
Quiet.
The mature trees. That is something here in California and then also there in Laredo that you can take for granted, because if you're from, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, all those places you see, there are just trees everywhere
Mm-hmm.
and you don't think about it. But the second that you step outside in the heat, it's like
Yeah.
you need
If
those
you
trees.
move to a neighborhood that's, new construct homes and there's, only seedlings in the ground in Laredo or even out here in
Or
California,
Arizona,
you're
those
baking
places.
for
Yeah, you're
8 months
dying.
out of the year.
Yeah.
And there were homes, I remember looking at Laredo, some new builds that were really beautiful, but they were just completely exposed. And
Just the sun's
it gets up
beating
to
down.
115 degrees. So that first
Yeah.
neighborhood, mature trees, it was really beautiful. And I lived there for 2 years, I think. And then we eventually got married, and we just moved upstairs to a 2-bedroom in the same complex. And that's where we started marriage there. And that was a really sweet place. We had Bible
Yeah.
studies and would have people over in that little apartment.
What do you miss the most though about Laredo?
Oh man, the people. I mean, the people are
Mm.
incredible. But then about Laredo itself, it's an interesting culture being on a border town. If anyone's ever lived on a border town, it's a bit of, it's a bit of Mexico, a bit of United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has unique challenges, but it also has unique opportunities. Like the food's incredible. We've talked about it before on the podcast, I think, but the Border Foundry, that restaurant,
So
we
good.
have not found a better restaurant
Yeah.
in California.
Yeah.
The Border Foundry is it.
It is. It is just next
Yeah.
level, and even the
Pete
crew would
Mims
say
from the
that.
Border Foundry. Shout out to Pete Mims.
Yeah, the crew would even say that too. Like, and they traveled all over,
Oh yeah.
and they loved Border
Yeah,
Foundry.
I don't think I've found, there's some incredible restaurants out here,
Mm-hmm.
but the Border Foundry just had it all. They'd bring in Wagyu steak.
So
The surf and
good.
turf was remarkable. They'd always be trying out something new. So we'd have like
Cricket tacos.
frog legs, cricket tacos. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one was on the show.
That was on
That
the
was
show.
disgusting.
Yeah. But it was actually kind of good in its
The
own way.
flavor was great, but just knowing what you were eating,
Yeah.
it's just a little much.
The crab cakes they'd have. So I miss some of that. You know what's interesting is looking back now, we're 8 years into marriage, and those were really special days just starting life together.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon we moved into our own house on Woodstone Court, and that was a sweet little house, maybe 1,200 square feet, but I think
Yeah.
4 bedrooms, right?
Yeah,
Someone
it was
wanna
4
move into the
bedrooms.
office.
Was it 1,400 square feet?
Maybe.
No, maybe it was smaller. Yeah, something like that. And then the backyard was really pretty. It had like a block wall that was covered in vines, just like so pretty. It felt like a little garden back there. It was
Yeah, it
really
was nice.
nice.
What was special? I mean, I remember bringing Felicity home from the hospital, bringing
Yeah.
her into her little nursery.
That was such a sweet moment. Yeah, I just remember it was an interesting drive. Actually, that was crazy. I don't think this was on the show, but when they were filming us, they were like, okay, we're gonna like they got in the hospital, got me putting her in the car seat, all of the things, and then they before we took the drive back to Laredo, it was like I think the drive was 2.5 hours from San Antonio, where I had Felicity. We chose to have her at the hospital there, back to Laredo. And it was pretty wild because they were like, well, you've been doing great after having Felicity. You shouldn't be in much pain. But they were like, we're going to give you 1 dose of medicine just to get you home. Well, I was thinking ibuprofen. I wasn't thinking it was going to be anything more than that. They gave me some serious, like, hard, I was going to say hard drug. It was bad.
This episode
made me
entitled Ginger on Drugs.
Ginger on drugs. I can, if I take ibuprofen, I can feel it. I don't take medicine for like
Yeah,
anything.
you hate taking medicine.
I hate
If I have a headache, I'm
I
like,
hate it.
Where's the Tylenol?
If I have bad cramps, I'll take it. Like after I had Felicity, you're like still like all the birth pain or whatever. I was like, okay, I'll take an ibuprofen. But I hate taking medicine. I want to just like try to wait as long as I can. Don't like just shoveling it out. Well, they gave me something and I don't remember what it was, but it made me so nauseous. I felt like I was going to vomit. The second I got in the car, I think they gave it to me 10 minutes before because they
And
were
do you
like, this will
remember-
just help you ride in the car for 2.5 hours. And I was like, well, I'm fine. Like I was literally walking around the room. I was happy. I felt great. They were going to do a scene where we stopped off at a paleta shop.
So that's what I was going to bring up. Do you remember stopping off there?
Oh, in a foggy way, I remember I was so nauseous. We were still in San Antonio and they were going to stop off and do this shot. Well, I told them, I was like, turn off the GoPros in the car. They had them all set up, like 8 GoPros or something. And I was like, can you turn them off? I'm about to throw up. So they turned them off and left them off on the drive. I sat in the car with like the AC blasting, and I was just so sick and I felt like shaky. I felt horrible. And to this day, I don't know what that medicine was they gave me, but I will never let them do that again. When I leave the hospital, I'm like, I'm fine. I feel great. Don't give me any meds. Like I will take my own if I need to. But it was crazy. Like I was sick the entire way back to San Antonio.
Laredo.
We got back, or Laredo, yes. Thank you. And it was 2.5 hour drive. And by the time we got back, I feel like they had to give me a little bit of time. And then they like took another lap around the block once I was feeling a little bit better, turned the GoPros on to make it look like I was pulling up into the house, even though I'd been there for a bit. And then we walked in and I was able to like do the last shot. So that was a wild experience because going into the house with Felicity, I was just still like nauseous, and could have been a better experience. Could have been better.
Did you tell them after giving birth to Evie? Because Evie was chaos because it was COVID, all the restrictions. But did you tell them not to give you anything, or did you not?
They just gave me, I just made sure they gave me just normal ibuprofen, like nothing crazy.
I mean, you're down for some drugs, so you're not against all drugs.
I did
you
an
like
epidural
the epidurals.
because when you're in that
I'm
much
just trying
pain,
to continue the theme of Ginger on drugs.
Part of it was, I will do the epidural. So I'll do that. I'm not like I said, my birth plan is going to the hospital, have the kid.
Yeah.
Hope they're good. Hope I'm good.
You don't have any ego about
the baby out. So if I'm in severe pain, you better be giving me some medicine.
Yeah. You don't have any ego about, oh, I did it natural. I did it the way they did it 500 years ago.
I mean, I'm all about like natural stuff in general at home, but I'm not like super crunchy to where I'm going to be like, don't give me an epidural. Like I'm not going to be like that right now at this point. So anyhow, with Evie, I made sure that they did not give me any other things aside from that, because I hate that feeling.
So I don't know if this is going to make some people upset, but I don't understand the whole movement amongst mothers of like, I'm going to do this natural and I'm going to do it primal. And we've come a long way with medical advances, and why wouldn't you take advantage of that? If you're going to go into the most agonizing moment of your life, my concern is the safety of the mother, safety of the child,
yes,
easy delivery.
Yep.
And if we've advanced to a place beyond the primal act,
this is your thing. This is your thing.
Help me.
Yes.
Walk me through this.
I got it. Okay, so this is a huge can of worms you just opened. Yeah. But I will say, I in general lean towards the healthier side of things. Like when it comes to food, I'm not the best, but I want to avoid a lot of things. So I'm reading the back of the labels. I'm doing all those things at home because we don't want microplastics. We don't want seed oils. We don't want all those things, right? Like we do try to eat generally healthy at home. I will say when it comes to birth, there is a certain, I don't know, there can be a judgment or like a feeling that you feel if you don't do everything super holistic. And I think that can be an imbalance because, for instance, a lot of my sisters, they chose to have home births for like, one of their kids, some of them a couple of their kids. Most of them were transported, had issues in their pregnancy, in their labor, and it was scary. And you told me, you said, we are not doing a home birth. And I was kind of like not all about a home birth, but you were like, I just don't feel comfortable seeing what they went through. And it was not, it was scary. It was very scary. So
yeah, when you're having to make emergency calls and you all of a sudden are starting to think about the life of the baby or the life of the mother.
Yeah, it's
with
scary.
all of the technological advancements
you're
we've
like,
made.
why wouldn't you just have the baby? This is where he was for us. Why wouldn't you have the baby in the hospital and mom and baby can be there, be monitored? And I will say, on the holistic side of things, I think that we have so many modern advances in medicine. And I also think that sometimes people rely on medicine too much to
Sure.
solve. They will slap a medicine on you instead of saying, let's go to the root problem of your like disease or issue. So I'm all about that. And I think a lot of people who avoid an epidural, it's because of the meds. They don't want to like crank all that
Sure.
into them or the baby or anything. So like I get it. I can see both sides. But as far as having a baby in the hospital or at a home birth for us, it was out of the picture. It was out of the question
Yeah.
to do a home birth because of the family history of that not going well.
And then you labored for 12 hours, right?
For
For Felicity. And
maybe you remember better than me. It
no,
was
I
a
think
long
it
time.
was at least 12 hours.
Yeah.
And your body was so tense. Finally, they gave you an epidural. And I
Yep.
think it was 30 minutes later.
The
Your
midwife-
body just relaxed.
Yeah, so we had a midwife in the hospital with us. And I did all my appointments at a birth center and then switched over to the hospital last minute. The doctor would come to the birth center too from the hospital. So it was like Texas. It was Texas. So with that, like, yeah, the midwife told me, she was like, I think that she needs an epidural now because otherwise, like, I was not progressing. And
Right.
it had actually been maybe longer than that because I was induced earlier on. So I don't know how many hours they counted in labor, but it was pretty tense. And anyhow, we tried a lot of natural things to like get labor going and all of that, different positions and everything, but it didn't seem to work. So I was just totally worn out. Like I was just falling asleep in between contractions, could not keep up my energy. And so then she was like, I think that might actually help you right now. Sure
Yeah.
enough, that happened.
Yeah, it was like 30 minutes later.
30 minutes later, she was born.
They were like, oh, baby's coming.
Yep. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So
Wild. So all of these experiences, and then you have a horrible memory of that drive back to Laredo.
how was your memory of it?
Well, I was tense too because I've never, they always say I was like two hands on the wheel. You've got this fragile little baby
Tiny.
who, even in the car seat, looks like a peanut, you
Yeah.
know, and you're just like,
And
is this
she
ba-
was 8 pounds 3 ounces. So imagine people who had like the
I know,
tiny
preemies.
6 pounds.
And so I'm just looking at all these reckless drivers driving
Oh,
60
yeah.
miles an hour down
Actually,
the
in
highway.
Texas, they were pretty crazy.
Yeah, they were. But I'd never been more conscious in my life. I think I was more conscious of the rules and regulations of driving than when I was taking my driver's test. I was just like signaling, slowing
so
down,
funny.
slowing to a stop, waiting 3 seconds at a stop sign, letting everyone go. I was never more cautious, and
love
pulling up
that.
into our driveway was a sense of relief.
That's so
And
awesome.
then, I remember taking Felicity, bringing her into her little nursery. But that home is special. That's a special place. I mean, that's where we started our family together.
Yeah. And we hosted like a ton of people.
Yeah, it's
A ton of your
incredible.
friends, my family. A lot of people came in and visited us
Yeah.
there. And Bible studies we hosted there weekly. It was so sweet.
So, what are some reflections looking back? Actually, I'll give you one on 8 years of marriage. Something you said earlier made me think of this, where you said we've changed so much as people. And I'll never forget in The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller, which is an excellent must-read book, whether you're married, getting married, not married. It's incredible the theological connection that Keller makes between our relationship as Christians with each other and our relationship with Christ. And there's so much to learn there about what the true meaning of marriage is. And that that book is full of a lot of wisdom. But one thing he says is in counseling, he's met with a lot of marriages that are being destroyed, and the complaint from one spouse about the other is, this isn't who I married. They're not who I married. And Keller's response is really insightful. He says, yeah, of course they're not, because marriage itself changes you. And so people have an expectation of marrying someone, and that person's going to be frozen in time and always be like this. And that's impossible. It's an impossible expectation because marriage itself changes you. You can't expect the growth, and you can't expect how the challenges of life together and having children and even moving in together and facing hard times and good times. That is actually an element in your life that is producing change.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
like
such a
adding
good
a
point.
different ingredient to a meal and then saying this meal tastes different. Well, yeah, because you've added new ingredients. You've added the ingredients of children and the ingredients of close proximity and the ingredients of financial challenges and social circumstances and the blending of in-laws and families. And so given what marriage is, another man says this, and I use it in almost every wedding sermon I preach. Marriage is not the joining of two worlds into one. Marriage is the abandonment of two worlds to create a new one. Well, that produces change in you.
Yeah.
And so you and I are here only 8 years in, by the way, which is we're not ready to write a marriage book, I'll tell you that much. But looking back already and going, we're different people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at you right now, and I was thinking this as we started, you are so beautiful, and you're even more beautiful now outwardly than you were when we got married, but also that's a reflection of the inward beauty. I think getting to know you more, getting to discover you, and this, I look and go, man, she is more
You're
beautiful.
sweet. Now you're going to make
She
me
is,
cry. I think
well,
it's
that's
'cause
just
I'm
because you're pregnant.
pregnant.
But really, it's like,
No, that's
it
sweet,
only
babe.
gets better and better. But I couldn't have predicted that. I couldn't have said in 8 years after having experienced this, and this is how I'll feel. This is how mature I'll be or
Yeah.
immature I'll be, or this is how I'll process life. You can't predict that. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
So marriage itself changes you.
Mm-hmm.
And so our expectations need to be tempered to that, where we're not going in going, I like how this person acts right now. I like how they look. I like how they behave. If only I could encapsulate that, then I'll be happy. Now, if any of that starts to change, well, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sign up for you to change. I didn't sign up for you to undergo trial and handle it this way. I thought you'd handle it that way. But that's how so many people
Yeah.
come into marriage.
Yes, totally. And I think like especially in the world that we're in today, it is super sad to see just how easily people give up and how cheap marriage feels because it's not that union that you talked about. Like you're not coming together looking for even the greater good of the person that you have married, that you've chosen to spend your life with, and before God, not honoring that
Yeah.
commitment. I think that that's something that we see really all around us. Like, and it is so sad to see. But I think, like you said, it's been so sweet just us growing together. And I think that even with all of the trials that we walked through in marriage, like a lot of things from outside, right? Like it was difficulty that we faced even in the early days. And we were forced to work through a lot. We were forced to like have to deal with things that we never thought we would have to work through within like even the first year of marriage. And it was so hard and yet so sweet because I think we were growing, like I said, just so deep with each other. And that bond just quickly, I think it took down all the walls of like even the performance side of things where I was coming from, right? Like having to keep everything all together. I couldn't. Like I literally couldn't. And I think that you kept reassuring me of that. Like just, like I want to know what you're thinking. What are you feeling? What are you walking through? Like how can I help you? And I think I was trying to keep it all together, but I knew like deep down I didn't have it together. And your constant reassurance of like your love for me, regardless of what we were walking through, it was so comforting and so helpful. And yeah, God allowed all of that. Like looking back now, like you can look back 8 years in and see like why God allowed all of those things. Even though in those times, like it was the hardest times of our life, and we were walking through so much stuff, even publicly, like with family stuff, like that was just really crazy with my brother, his choices, everything that was going down at that point. And there was so much heartache and pain. And yet at the same time, I think that we just leaned into each other. We leaned into the Lord, and God sustained us and grew us deeper in that time. And I think that was something that, like, looking back now, I would say I wouldn't trade that, because God uses all things. He works it all together for our good. And I think it's hard to see when you're in that moment. It's hard to see when
Yeah.
you're in the midst of the pain. You just want it to go away. You just want it to be done. And I think that that's something that I need to remember going forward. We've actually been studying through a book in the Bible that's super helpful, and like in my Bible study, and just looking back at God's faithfulness through all of the circumstances. And that's been something that we've been talking about. Like, look back at the past, see what God has done, see how faithful he's been and what he's allowed and why he's allowed it. That way, for the future, it gives you that peace and that confidence.
Yeah.
Whenever trials do come again, we'll look back and we'll remember what God did. Even in that pain, he was allowing it for a reason. And I think that that's something that I need to be reminded of every day, because I'm one to forget. I'm one to lean into fear. And I don't want to do that, because I know that God is trustworthy and he is faithful and he's good. So that's just something I can think about for like all these years.
Yeah, in 1 Samuel chapter 12, Samuel, after watching God's faithfulness to the people of Israel, sets aside a stone, a rock of remembrance, and they call it an Ebenezer. And it's designed to remind the people, as they look at that massive stone, of how God was faithful to them in the trial. Because in the midst of those trials, you're right, you're just saying, I wish this was over. Why is God doing this? What good can come from this? Especially in a young marriage. You go, why is our marriage being assaulted right now? Whether it's from the public, whether it's from issues with family, whatever it is, why are we under attack? We're just trying to live life together. And you ask why, and it's difficult, and you cry. But then you look back now, 8 years on from some of those, 5 years on from some of those, 2 years on from some of those, and we can look and see how God was faithful and what God did through that, and how he grew us, and how he grew us closer, how he matured us, how he was showing us our own areas of weakness or sin, whatever. And so setting an Ebenezer, and it could be as simple as a conversation like this, and reminding ourselves every once in a while, hey, remember that time? Or it could be a journal entry, whatever it is, where you set a reminder so you can look back and go, yeah, remember when I was tempted to doubt God's goodness? Look at what he did. And remember when I was really confused and I might have been angry at the Lord or doubted? Well, look how he proved himself faithful. And he'll do it again.
Yeah.
And so in those moments of doubt and those moments of struggle, it's not ours to understand what God's doing. It's to understand who God is. Like when Job was going through all the suffering in the book of Job, God did not come down and start explaining to him why he's allowed him to go through all that. He simply came down and declared his person to Job. Job, let me tell you who I am. And as we look at the one who's in control and we see his character, we can have peace. But that's marriage. I mean, that's why we say through thick and thin, through sickness and health, because we're covenanting together with another soul, that I'm not going to fickly, based upon circumstance, opt out of this thing if things change. Things are going to change, and people are going to change, and you can't possibly predict it. And it's so sad, and you're setting yourself up for misery and failure if you really think you're going to go into marriage going, okay, I've plotted this out. We're going to have a white picket fence with 4 kids, 2 cars. We're going to live in this middle-class neighborhood, and we're not going to undergo any trials. And so insofar as everything goes according to plan, we'll stay together. But if something messes up, well, I might be out. That's not marriage.
Yeah.
That's a selfish, manipulative contract you signed with another individual, that insofar as you both are satisfied, you'll remain together. But if you find something better or something bad comes along, you're out. What a horrible, manipulative, cruel way to approach the most sacred union between souls. And so marriage is recognizing that people change because circumstances fluctuate, but we're committed no matter what.
Yeah.
Man, it's been an incredible ride just these 8 years. I'm looking forward to celebrating 16. You know what? I'm looking forward to celebrating 10
10.
because we're going to go to Italy.
Yeah.
Are we doing
That's
it?
our plan. I was talking to a friend the other day. They went there for their 10 year and she was sending me like this like itinerary or like things that they did in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
And said we should do it too.
I would love to go to Italy with you, babe.
That would be a blast. Let's do it.
Let's do it in 10 years.
Let's go.
No,
10 years.
At 10 years.
At 10 years. 2
In
years
2 years.
away. Yeah. And
start
then that way I think the
saving
baby
our
will
pennies.
be old enough to like maybe leave the baby with your parents. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Is that bad?
No.
Maybe the baby's too young for
Kidding
that.
me? 2 years old?
No, not 2 years old. Not fully.
One in 10 months?
Yeah, that would be fine. It just seems so far away though, like to go overseas. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
see.
leave the baby with grandma as baby's entering the terrible twos.
Perfect.
It'll be a great assignment for grandma and grandma as we go gallivant through the rolling hills of Italy. Well, I love you, babe.
I love you.
It's been fun.
It's been good.
Thanks for saying yes.
It's only getting better.
There was a time when I thought I'm not going to be able to convince any girl to say yes.
No way.
Oh yeah, I was.
Heck no. That no.
Nobody's gonna.
They were going to be
sign up for
lined
this.
up. They were all going to be
It's
lined
not true.
up. I know.
It's literally not true. Although you were getting nice love letters from guys in prison, so that was nice.
Yeah, it's always great.
Thanks for saying yes to me. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out. Like and subscribe. So here's another thing. We do peruse the comments you leave, whether it's on YouTube, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, on Apple, on Instagram. In fact, this morning, before we filmed this, I was looking through to see if there's any good content ideas. So leave a review. We appreciate it. We want to be connected with you guys. Maybe we'll do a Q&A coming up soon.
That'd be super fun.
All right.
Let's go.
See ya.